Hey everyone, and welcome back to Talk Tickers. We're diving deep into XPeng's Q3 2024 earnings call today.
Always an interesting one.
Yeah, they're one of those companies that they're always kind of pushing the limits, and now they're really making a play to be like that first AI-defined car company in the world.
It's a pretty audacious goal for sure.
Yeah.
And I think their Q3 results really do show that they're not just talking the talk, they're really walking the walk with some pretty impressive numbers.
For sure. So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's jump right in.
XPeng, they delivered 46,533 vehicles this quarter.
Wow.
Which is a 54% jump from last quarter.
Huge.
And a 16% year-over-year growth. So that's not just like keeping pace with the EV boom. It's exceeding it.
Yeah, they're blowing past expectations, and especially when you consider that their September deliveries alone topped 20,000.
Yeah, that's wild.
A new record for them.
So they're selling a lot of cars. But what's even more impressive is that they're not sacrificing profit for growth.
Right. Their gross profit margin hit 15.3%.
Yeah.
Which is a 5-quarter consecutive improvement. Wow.
So this suggests that they're really mastering cost control through smart manufacturing and leveraging AI for greater efficiency.
So they're selling a ton of cars, making more money on each one. But what about this whole AI-defined car thing?
Right. What does that even mean?
What does that even mean for, like, the average driver?
Well, their CEO, XPeng, he believes that the next decade is the era of AI in mobility.
Okay.
And he's not just talking about, like, fancy features,
Right.
He really envisions a car that learns your preferences, anticipates your needs, and seamlessly integrates with, like, your digital life.
So, like, having a super smart co-pilot.
Exactly.
Who also happens to be your car.
Yeah.
That was the idea.
That's pretty wild. And they actually launched a car they're calling the world's first AI-defined car, right? The XPeng P7 Plus ACS.
That's right. The P7 Plus garnered over 30,000 pre-orders on launch night, which is incredible. And it really embodies their vision. It's not about luxury in the traditional sense. It's about cutting-edge, AI-powered, autonomous driving and an unprecedented level of connectivity and personalization.
See, that's something I can get behind.
Yeah.
But here's what really caught my attention.
Yeah.
They're making high-level, intelligent driving software and a hardware standard across their entire vehicle lineup.
Across the board.
Is that even possible?
It's an incredibly ambitious move.
Yeah.
And it signals their belief that AI-powered driving is the future, not just a niche feature.
Right.
It's like when power steering went from a luxury to a standard.
Oh, yeah.
XPeng is betting big on this being the next big shift in the auto industry.
So it's like making it more accessible to a wider audience if they can keep costs down.
Right.
Did they say anything about how they're planning to manage that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of their key strategies is using AI not just for the features themselves,
Right.
but also for cost reduction in R&D and manufacturing. So they're essentially using AI to streamline the entire process from design to production.
So AI is both the selling point and like the secret weapon behind the scenes.
Kinda, yeah.
That's pretty clever.
It is.
Did they give any hints about how this might affect pricing for future models?
Yeah, they're projecting double-digit gross margins on future models, which suggests they're confident in their ability to bring costs down while still offering these advanced features.
Okay.
And this could be a game changer in terms of making AI-powered cars more accessible to the average consumer.
All right, let's shift gears for a sec and talk about their global ambitions.
Sure.
They're already selling in over 30 countries, and they seem to have their sights set on leading Chinese EV exports.
Yeah.
That's a pretty crowded market, though, right?
It is a highly competitive landscape, both from established automakers who are rapidly electrifying their fleets and from other ambitious EV startups.
For sure.
Breaking into the global market is a major challenge for any company, let alone one from China, which still faces some skepticism from Western consumers.
Right, so they've got their work cut out for them, but they also seem to be in a strong financial position to tackle these challenges.
Yeah.
What did their Q4 guidance look like?
They're projecting deliveries between 87,000 and 91,000 units.
Now,
which could be an almost 96% increase from this past quarter.
it's a big jump.
It is a huge jump. Revenue is expected to be between 15.3 billion and 16.2 billion RMB. They also expect to achieve positive free cash flow in the second half of 2024 and to end the year with over 40 billion RMB in cash on hand.
Whoa, hold on. You just casually dropped free cash flow in there.
Well, right.
For our listeners who might not be familiar with that term, can you quickly explain what that means and why it's important?
Yeah, free cash flow is essentially the cash a company has left over after paying for its operating expenses and capital expenditures.
Gotcha.
So it's a key indicator of financial health because it represents the money a company has available to invest in growth, pay dividends, or simply keep as a cushion for tougher times. So XPeng projecting positive free cash flow is a very positive sign, especially as they're looking to expand globally and invest heavily in R&D.
That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're firing on all cylinders right now. Record deliveries, strong margins, ambitious goals, and a healthy cash position.
They are.
But we all know the market can be fickle. What are some of the potential risks or challenges that you see them facing moving forward?
That's a great question. As impressive as these results are, there are definitely some potential headwinds to consider. The first is competition, which, as we've discussed, is fierce and growing in the EV space.
Right.
Established automakers have vast resources and brand recognition, and new startups are popping up all the time,
Yeah.
some with innovative technologies and disruptive business models.
It's like a race to the top.
It is.
And it's not just about building great cars anymore. It's
Right.
about building a whole ecosystem around the car,
Yeah.
from charging infrastructure to software updates to autonomous driving capabilities.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the second challenge, the rapidly evolving technological landscape. The pace of innovation in the automotive industry is accelerating.
Yeah.
And XPeng will need to stay ahead of the curve if they want to maintain their competitive edge. They've made AI the core of their strategy, but who knows what the next big breakthrough will be
Right.
and whether they'll be able to adapt quickly enough.
And then there's the whole geopolitical landscape, which can be a bit of a wild card, especially for a Chinese company operating in a global market. Trade tensions, government regulations, and even consumer perceptions can all play a role.
Absolutely. XPeng is navigating a complex global environment where political and economic factors can shift rapidly.
Yeah.
It's not just about building great cars, it's about managing these external forces that can have a significant impact on their success.
So we've covered the good, the great, and the potentially challenging. I think it's safe to say that XPeng's earnings call gave us a lot to think about. They're clearly not just along for the EV ride. They're aiming to redefine the car as we know it, and they're not afraid to take risks to achieve that goal.
It's a fascinating case study of a company that's pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the auto industry. They're betting big on AI, and it's going to be very interesting to see if their gamble pays off.
Speaking of bets, are you ready to have some fun with our This Is Not Financial Advice segment?
Let's do it. Always up for some speculative fun, as long as our listeners remember that we are not financial advisors.
Yeah.
And this is purely for entertainment purposes.
All right, disclaimer out of the way. Let's get into it. Based on what we've heard today, and I repeat, this is not financial advice, but I'm thinking a long straddle on XPeng Expire
Ooh.
in just after their next major product launch. Could be a spicy play.
A straddle, that's an interesting one. So for our listeners who might not be familiar with options, trading a straddle involves buying both a call option and a put option with the same strike price and expiration date. It's essentially a bet on volatility. You're hoping the stock price will move significantly in either direction, and you profit if the move is large enough to offset the cost of both options.
Exactly, and I think XPeng's next product launch could be a major catalyst for a big price swing. If the product is a hit, we could see a surge in buying, driving the stock price up. But if it falls flat or there are production delays, the stock could take a hit either way. A straddle could potentially capture that volatility and give you a chance to profit.
It's definitely a high-risk, high-reward play. You need to be comfortable with the possibility of losing your entire investment.
Of course.
And you need to have a strong conviction that the stock will move significantly in one direction or the other.
Which is why this is purely for entertainment purposes. We are not recommended anyone actually trade this. This is just us having some fun riffing on the information we learned from the earnings call.
Yeah.
Don't take this as financial advice. Do your own research, understand the risks, and never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's move on to some more serious analysis.
Yeah.
What are your key takeaways from this earnings call, and where do you think XPeng is headed in the long run?
To me, the biggest takeaway is their unwavering commitment to AI as the defining feature of their cars. They're not just adding a few bells and whistles, they're building a whole new kind of car and they're betting their future on it.
Yeah, it's a bold vision, and it's certainly not without its risks, but they also seem to have a solid plan in place to execute this strategy.
Mm-hmm.
They're investing heavily in R&D, streamlining their manufacturing processes, and expanding their global footprint. They're clearly playing for keeps.
And that makes them a company to watch very closely. If they can successfully navigate the competitive landscape, stay ahead of the technological curve, and overcome the geopolitical challenges, they could very well become a dominant force in the auto industry.
And that brings us to perhaps the most thought-provoking question of all. If XPeng succeeds in making AI-defined cars mainstream, what will that mean for the future of personal transportation?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's one that goes far beyond just the car itself. Imagine a world where cars can drive themselves, anticipate our needs, and seamlessly connect with our digital lives. What does that mean for our cities, our commutes, our relationships with our cars?
It's a future that's both exciting and a little bit daunting.
Yeah.
It's a future that could fundamentally change how we live, work, and interact with the world around us, and XPeng is positioning itself to be at the forefront of that transformation.
So, dear listeners, buckle up. The ride is just beginning.
I love that. And that's a wrap on part 1 of our deep dive into XPeng's Q3 earnings call. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll take a closer look at their financial performance and delve deeper into their AI strategy.
Welcome back to Talk Tickers, everybody. Picking up our deep dive on XPeng's Q3 earnings call right where we left off.
Yeah, a company that's not just riding the EV wave, they're aiming to reshape the whole automotive landscape with this bold vision of an AI-defined car.
Exactly. And it's a vision that's really captured a lot of attention from investors and car enthusiasts alike. But beyond all the hype, there are some serious numbers to consider. So let's kind of break down XPeng's financial performance.
Yeah, let's see if they're really walking the walk.
Yeah, putting their money where their mouth is.
All right, so one of the things that I think is really standing out is they're seeing a really good improvement in their gross profit margin.
Absolutely, reaching 15.3% this quarter,
Yeah.
which is a significant achievement, marking 5 consecutive quarters of growth.
Which is huge. So that indicates that they're effectively managing costs and becoming increasingly profitable with each car they sell.
With each car out the door, they're making more money.
Yeah, that 15.3% really jumps out at me because it suggests that they're not just slashing prices to gain market share,
Right.
like we've seen some other EV makers do. They're really focused on sustainable growth.
Exactly. They're in it for the long haul.
And that's a really good sign for long-term investors.
Absolutely. And this cost efficiency is directly linked to their strategic use of AI, not just in their vehicles, but also throughout their entire operations. So they're leveraging AI in their research and development, manufacturing processes, even supply chain management to really streamline things and reduce expenses.
So it's almost like AI is this invisible force that's working behind the scenes to make everything kind of run smoother and more cost effectively.
Exactly. It's like a well-oiled machine powered by artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's like they're building a smart factory.
They are, essentially, yeah.
That's pretty cutting edge.
Incredibly innovative, and it really sets them apart because they're not just using AI to make their cars smarter. They're using it to make their entire business smarter.
Yeah.
And that's a key differentiator in an industry that's, rapidly becoming more competitive and technologically driven.
Absolutely. So this commitment to AI, it seems like it's paying off in other areas as well.
It is.
Remember those really impressive delivery numbers that we talked about?
Yeah.
Those are partly driven by their decision to make advanced intelligent driving features standard across their entire vehicle lineup.
Across the board.
So that's a major gamble, but it seems like it's really resonating with consumers.
It's a bold move, no doubt,
Yeah.
but it seems to be paying off. They're essentially betting on this mass adoption of AI-powered drive-in technology.
Wow.
They're aiming to normalize what's currently seen as a luxury feature and redefine expectations for what a car can and should do.
And you know what? It's a pretty smart play because it allows them to appeal to a much wider range of customers. Maybe people who haven't considered an EV before, because now they're offering that advanced technology at a more accessible price point.
More bang for your buck.
But how are they managing to keep costs down while incorporating these really sophisticated features?
Well, it goes back to their focus on AI-driven efficiency. So by optimizing their design and manufacturing processes, they're able to bring down the cost of these advanced systems. They're even projecting double-digit gross margins on future models.
Really?
Which is a strong indicator that they believe this approach is sustainable.
Okay. So they're saying that they can keep doing this.
Yeah, they're confident.
Okay. That's a pretty bold claim, especially in an industry known for its tight margins and really fierce competition.
It is a tough industry, but they seem to have found a way to crack the code.
If they can pull this off, it could be a game changer not just for XPeng, but for the entire EV market.
Absolutely. Imagine a world where AI-powered features like advanced driver assistance systems and personalized in-car experiences are no longer exclusive to those high-end luxury models, but become the norm across the entire automotive spectrum. That's the future XPeng is trying to create.
Yeah, and it's not just about the tech itself. It's about kind of shifting consumer expectations about what a car can be.
Exactly. It's about elevating the entire driving experience.
And, that kind of ties in nicely with their global expansion plans. They're already selling in over 30 countries,
They are.
but they're not content with just being a niche player in the market. They want to be a global leader in this EV space.
Yeah, world domination is the goal.
And they're not shy about saying it.
No, they're not afraid to dream big.
Their ambition is undeniable. I think we can all agree on that.
For sure.
And they seem to have a really solid foundation to build upon with that strong product lineup, the clear technological advantage with their AI focus, and a growing global presence.
A recipe for success.
But as we talked about earlier, they're also facing some pretty significant challenges.
Yeah, there are always hurdles along the way.
Yeah, competition is fierce.
Yeah.
The technological landscape is constantly evolving. And geopolitical factors, those can be super unpredictable.
It's a complex and ever-changing environment.
Yeah, but one thing that really stood out to me in their earnings call was their confidence.
Yeah.
They really seemed to believe that they could overcome these challenges and achieve those ambitious goals.
They exude confidence, and it's contagious.
Right. It's not just kind of blind faith. It's a belief in their technology and their strategy and their team.
It's a belief in their ability to execute.
And that's a powerful thing.
It is.
So they're not just chasing those trends. They're really charting their own course
Yeah.
and betting on their ability to just disrupt the whole industry.
They're trailblazers.
And that brings us back to this whole idea of the AI-defined car. It's a concept that's still kind of taking shape, you know?
It's still early days.
But it really has that potential to revolutionize the whole automotive industry. Imagine a car that not only gets you from point A to point B, but also learns your preferences, anticipates your needs, and seamlessly integrates with your digital life.
It's like having a personal assistant on wheels.
That's exactly what it's like.
The co-pilot that knows you better than you know yourself.
Yeah, and I think it's really a tantalizing glimpse into that future of mobility.
Yeah.
And it's one that XPeng is really determined to make a reality.
Yeah. They're all in on this.
They're not just building cars, they're building like a whole new way of interacting with the world around us.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach to mobility.
And, it's a future that raises a lot of questions like, how will AI really change the way we drive?
Right.
What will this mean for our cities and our infrastructure?
Yeah.
How will this kind of impact our relationship with our cars and with each other?
These are the big questions that we're going to be grappling with in the years to come.
Yeah.
But one thing is certain XPeng is at the forefront of this technological revolution.
Absolutely.
And they're pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes. All right, so it's definitely an exciting time to be following the auto industry. Maybe a little bit unnerving, but let's bring it back down to earth for a second. We are talk tickers after all. So let's talk about what this means for investors.
Right. We can't get too caught up in the futuristic possibilities without considering the cold, hard realities of the market. So let's put on our analyst hats for a minute and assess the potential risks and opportunities here for those looking to invest in XPeng.
Okay, so risk-reward analysis time. What are some of the key factors investors should be considering when they're evaluating XPeng?
Well, I think first and foremost, they need to recognize that XPeng is a growth stock, which means it carries a higher level of risk than a more established company. Their valuation is based on their future potential, not necessarily their current profitability.
Which makes sense given their ambitious goals and the fact that they're still, relatively early in their growth trajectory.
Exactly. It's a long game.
But that high growth potential also means there's a possibility of high volatility.
Oh, absolutely. XPeng's stock price can be influenced by a wide range of factors, competition, technological advancements, government regulations, even just overall market sentiment. So investors need to be prepared for a bit of a bumpy ride.
Okay, so buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride.
Up on tight?
But what about the potential rewards? What are some of the things that could really push XPeng's stock price higher in the coming years?
Well, if their bet on AI really pays off and they become, a leader in this AI-defined car market, that could be a huge catalyst for growth. I mean, imagine if they become like the Tesla of AI-powered vehicles.
Yeah, that'd be incredible.
That would be a game changer.
And it seems like they're executing their strategy well so far. Their Q3 results were strong. They've got a solid product lineup and they're expanding globally. But as we discussed, they're also facing some really stiff competition. So how do they stack up against all the other players in the EV space?
That's the key question, right? I mean, they're competing against both those established automakers, like your Volkswagens, Toyotas, GMs, who are all rapidly electrifying their fleets, as well as, ambitious startups like Neo Auto, Lucid Motors. Everyone wants a piece of that EV pie.
Yeah, it's a crowded field, and it's only going to get more competitive in the coming years, but XPeng, they do seem to have a few key advantages. They've got that focus on AI, which gives them a technological edge. Their design and manufacturing capabilities are impressive, and they really have a strong understanding of the Chinese market, which is, the largest and fastest growing EV market in the world.
Those are definitely valuable assets, no doubt about it. But investors need to kind of weigh those strengths against the risks. The EV market is still relatively young, and unpredictable consumer preferences can change quickly.
Right.
Technological breakthroughs, those can really disrupt the industry, and government regulations can create both opportunities and challenges.
So it sounds like investing in XPeng, it's not for the faint of heart.
It's not for the risk averse.
It's a high-risk, high-reward proposition. But for those who believe in their vision and are willing to kind of stomach that volatility, it could be a very rewarding investment.
Potentially very lucrative.
Okay, well, before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I can't resist having a little fun with our This Is Not Financial Advice segment. Any crazy trade ideas bouncing around in that analytical mind of yours based on what we've learned about XPeng today?
Well, if you're looking for a high-risk, high-reward play, and again, I have to emphasize this is not financial advice.
Of course.
But how about a long-dated call option on XPeng?
Okay.
Expiring after their next major product launch.
Ooh, I like that. Betting on the potential hype and excitement surrounding a new product launch. Those long-dated options, though, they can be pricey, right?
They can be. But if XPeng unveils something truly groundbreaking, something that captures the imagination of the market, the potential upside could be pretty substantial.
Okay, so hypothetically speaking, if someone were to completely ignore our very clear disclaimer and actually consider this trade, what are some of the risks that they would need to be aware of?
Well, as with any options trade, the biggest risk is losing your entire investment.
Yeah.
If the stock price doesn't move in the direction you expect,
Yeah.
so in this case, if XPeng's new product launch fails to impress, or if there are any delays, production issues, the stock price could drop and your option could become worthless.
And we've got to factor in the overall market conditions too, right? Which can be super unpredictable.
Absolutely.
A sudden downturn in the market could also negatively impact XPeng's stock price, regardless of how good their product is.
And let's not forget about the competition. If a rival EV maker comes out with a game-changing product of their own that could steal XPeng's thunder and put some downward pressure on their stock price.
Right. So a lot of risks to consider, but hey, that's the nature of high risk, high reward trading.
You got to be in it to win it.
Right. It's not for everyone, and it's certainly not something to do without careful research and a solid understanding of the risks involved.
Do your homework, folks.
All right, so it's time to wrap up this deep dive into XPeng's Q3 earnings call. I think it's safe to say that XPeng is a company that's really pushing those boundaries of what's possible in the auto industry. They're betting big on AI, and they really have the potential to become a major force in the EV market.
Definitely a company to watch in the coming years. Their journey is sure to be full of twists and turns, but it'll be fascinating to see how their vision of this AI-defined car plays out.
I couldn't agree more. And that's a wrap for Talk Tickers. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of XPeng. Until next time, keep those portfolios diversified and those minds open to the possibilities of the future.